Right, Mature Muscle, episode 6. That's season 4. Happy New Year, mate.
You too, man. Happy New Year.
What, yeah, who's half of that handsome dude? Right, so we're kicking off the year with this first podcast of the year, which is episode 6. That's better. They can see half your face now. It's better than 0.
At least that camera can see it.
Yeah.
We can get on that one.
So, starting the new year, I wanted to just talk about setting up health goals and fitness goals because everyone does it. Everyone sees this, for whatever reason, as a kick-off point for starting new things. It's always annoyed me because when you work in the industry, it becomes so predictable, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's always the same. I want to lose a stone next week.
Like by next week.
Next Monday.
I'm never going to eat meat again, or I'm going to eat nothing but meat.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'm never going to drink again, or usual insert thing here that you're going to give up.
Dry January.
That's on my list. Dry January. That's one of my proper bugbears. So that's like, I'm going to be a dick all year, and then I'm just going to give up for one part of the year. I mean, okay. If you want to do that, that's fine. But then it just perpetuates that whole thing that lifestyle can just be something you can put down and pick up when it suits you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's what doesn't get those long-term results as such. Like, if you just flittering in and out of stuff for 1 month, then you're never going to get long-term results. You're always going to go, like, all or nothing. And I know when people say, oh, if you're all or nothing, you're going to fail. But I've seen it all the time. People that go all or nothing always fail. Those that stick around for a year, 2 years, that do the best results, get, like, the strongest they've ever got.
Yeah.
Whereas the people that do, like, 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever of all or nothing, usually get injured.
Because it's extremes. It's like in my experience, again, not with everyone. I'm not saying this is true for everyone, but I think for the majority of people who do something like dry January, it's because they probably drink too much. So they're probably thinking, I need to stop drinking. Which, if you have occasional beer, a couple of nights, a month or what, then you're fine. If you're smashing 2 or 3 bottles of wine every night because you're stressed to hell, and then you think, right, shit, January, I need to stop this, and then, okay, January's done, I can get back on it again in February, then, you've got to ask yourself, what's the point?
And one of the things I always find funny is when they like, oh, it's my little treat. I'm like, I get it too. Like, I understand it, right? I understand that alcohol, like for me, 1 sip of alcohol, you makes you feel brilliant.
Yeah.
But you have disrupted sleep and you feel shit in the morning. So it's not really a treat, is it?
No.
Like, and also sometimes, like, maybe just don't drink for a week and treat yourself to like a spa day or I don't know, like a book or like a day out, because you think, what's a bottle of wine nowadays? A tenner a bottle?
Yeah.
Say 50 quid you saved in a week. Spend that 50 quid on something else.
Yeah.
Some new gym gear. But like it's not really a treat.
It's not short-term treat, isn't it? Because it's going to make you better short-term.
Yeah.
But, anyway.
And if you only have 1 glass, you're lying to yourself because you're going to drink the whole bottle.
Yeah.
I never put a whole bottle back, half a bottle back. Who does that?
No, not many people. Not many people. So if we're going to just slag off that, which is fair enough, what do you think about what is a good thing to set up in the new year? Is there a good fad, or is there a good way of doing it? It's a good thing to start. You need to start somewhere. So starting is better than not starting. So if you start in January, then that's fine. But make it something long term and have a long-term plan, rather than just.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
It's like I know if you ever set goals, it's always like smart goals, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you kind of do have to be a little bit specific about them, because sometimes if you don't be specific, then you don't really know if you hit the goal.
Yeah.
But also, I think especially for your health and wellness and stuff, I think making sure you have maybe a weekly goal.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just 1 week you're going to do, I don't know, I'm going to eat protein at breakfast for 1 week and then make sure that's a good habit.
Drink more water.
Yeah. Then the next week I'm going to do my steps rather than doing them all in the first week.
Yeah.
And then set I want to try and lose a stone within, say, 6 months.
Yeah.
Something that rather than a month. Like, a month is doable, don't get me wrong, it is doable. But you're going to have to work hard.
Yeah.
And most people don't have the time, energy, effort to work that hard.
No.
Like when everyone always goes, "Oh, I'd love to have a six pack," I'm like, you've got to work really hard for that. And and then you're like, I'll outline it for the client. And they're like, maybe I don't want one. Then.
yeah,
like,
'cause I don't want it that badly.
Yeah, and that's it. So making sure you set like to be honest, most of the time I try and set simple, easy target. Like, if you can do a kilo a month or like,
make it really super achievable.
4 pounds a month or like something that's going to be like, you're going to stick to, because otherwise you just, like you say, you just get rid of it. But yeah, specific, however you're going to measure it, be it measurable, whether that's running, weight, scales.
Might be a time for a run.
Yeah.
It might be similarly simple as a couple of pounds, like you said, or a couple of kilos.
And then like realistic.
Yeah. Is it achievable in the time that you set yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, or am I just, pissing in the wind?
Yeah, essentially, like, if you have a goal to say, obviously you just climbed like a massive mountain. If you have a goal to climb a mountain, you're going to need to get some training in before that to achieve the climb.
Yeah.
Or, so if you're going to say, I want to run a marathon in 2 months, you don't have enough time to train if you're untrained, essentially.
Yeah.
And also, I always think put stuff in there for yourself, like, I guess because I train a lot of older people, which is, I guess, good for this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I see a lot of, especially mums as well, like dads as well, but mums, they just don't have anything else except from work and the kids. Like, just try and get an hour or two where you're just, I don't know, reading a book or laying on the bed just looking at the sky, or like going to the spa or doing something for your well-being rather than like, because I don't think TV's like it's always an input. You're always inputting it every day. So you're sat at a desk and you're just watching TV. You're always inputting.
Yeah.
You're never actually just sat there doing nothing or like reading something.
Doom scrolling.
Yeah. So something that's not with your phone, basically, and something's going to be like, go for a walk, climb a hill or a mountain, or like.
No, it's a good idea. Yeah.
So add those in as well.
Yeah.
And find something that's enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely. Find something you want to do regularly.
Find something that's enjoyable.
That brings us on to the new year, new me thing. So this is something that I've seen.
Same me.
Yeah, say many times. People set themselves too many things at once. So a good example is you might say, right, I'm giving up alcohol. I'm gonna cut down on my meat. I'm gonna drink more water. I'm gonna exercise 5 times a week. So all of these things together, I think the more things you add, the more chance you have got failing.
Oh yeah.
So I always say to people, right, pick one of those, and that's January. Then think February. Then think March.
Yeah.
It's like when you're trying to find what you're allergic to, you cut something out, and if you feel better, then it's that. And then you can reintroduce the other things later. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's in a reverse way with your goal setting. Set yourself something once that you can do in January, and then if it goes well, then go February. Right, I'm going to do that bit now. And before you know it, you're into June and you've achieved a hell of a lot more than if you'd have crashed and burned in January.
And that's what a lot of people do.
That's what I mean.
That's what a lot of people do.
So don't you set yourself up for failure, basically, because you must see it as well. You see perpetual people who every year they come out with this new year, new me crap, and it's unfortunately it's destined failure because they've set themselves up way too much of a harder challenge or too many things to achieve at once.
And it's quite difficult to control those people.
It is.
In a sense. Like, you're trying to guide them, but they don't don't want guidance.
No.
But and also, like, I hate banging on about alcohol, like, because I really understand it, and I get why people drink.
Yeah.
But that's why I don't like dry January. So I'm like, if you're struggling to quit alcohol for a month, you're an alcoholic. Like, surely, you're addicted to fucking.
If you're counting the days, like January the 23rd, fuck.
Yeah, and there's definitely a problem there.
Yeah, and that's way bigger than this podcast can go.
Yeah, but I get it as well.
Yeah, I do get it. But it's.
And also, I guess the other thing is, instead of cutting stuff out, just add stuff. So instead of changing everything, just add stuff. Like, add a walk 20 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Add more protein to your dinner or breakfast or lunch. Because then your protein is going to fill you up anyway. So then you might not want a snack. So sometimes people struggle taking away stuff, but just start adding to start with.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because the more movement, like if you can do more movement, say 20 minutes a day, like a lot of our clients are like desk based. So if you, like what I always say, like if you can take a a call while walking, which I reckon most people can take at least one call while walking, then why not walk for that call?
Yeah.
Or stand up for that call and walk around
Stand
your
up
house,
for sure.
or-
I mean, that's an easy fix, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you sit down at your desk most of the day. If you can stand up every other hour or something.
Also, if you can't find 20 minutes, you just need to sort your life out.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just a basic general, like, just do 20 minutes. And if you want the most bang for your buck, 20 minutes after dinner, you're going to use it better and sleep better.
And another thing I think is quite useful is for the accountability side. If you've got a friend who's sitting in a similar boat, hook up and train together.
Yeah.
Because nothing's better than that core going, get your ass down here. I'm not training on my own. So, and if you get that, you feel obliged to that. You can't let that person down, and they feel the same way. They can't let you down, and together you're more likely to stick to it. Because especially if you're new to the scene, if you're new to training and exercise, going down to a busy gym, because it will be busy in January, there's a good chance. You go down to a busy gym, you get in there and you go, ugh.
But also,
You can turn around and leave.
Coming off the back of that, that's why I always think, like, personal training, small group stuff is always good because you're going to get taught what to do.
Yeah.
Like, rather than just turning up to the gym and going, right, I'm going to go on a cross trainer and do nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to burn a couple hundred calories. Actually, you could go for a month, just do it for a month, or like one lesson a week or something, where you actually get taught how to lift and use the stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the confidence builds in, rather than like if I went to, I don't know, like a coding lesson for the computer, and I just thought I'm just going to jump straight in and start coding. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do.
No.
Or like when you learn to drive, you don't just jump in a car and drive.
Yeah.
Like I would always say, like, even if you can afford 1 month of small group personal training or 1 month of PT, just so you can get at least 4 sessions in 4 hours with a coach, it's going to fast track you more than you going on your own for 10 years.
Absolutely. And I've mentioned this on the podcast a few times, but one of the classics is you see people doing exercises that are a waste of time.
Or going to hurt them.
Or going to hurt them, but
like
yeah. Yeah. I mean, short term, doing the wrong stuff is going to either hurt you or it's going to be ineffective. So the classic is I see this all the time and I still can't believe I'm seeing it, is because I've seen it for 30 years, I reckon. Holding onto a treadmill on an incline of 6%, holding on like this.
I saw one the other day at the
basically being dragged uphill, isn't it?
It's the motorised belt, yeah.
It's the motorised belt doing the work.
You're holding on.
And what they're doing is they're looking at the calories, going, "Wow, look at these calories I'm burning at this speed and incline."
Probably done nothing.
But it'll be a fraction of that because you're being dragged up the hill.
And you're holding on.
And because you're holding
great
on.
grip.
Yeah, you've got a
But your
great
heart
grip
rate is
strength.
still fucking 7.
Yeah. And they're going so fast that the feet can barely keep up with it.
Yeah, I saw one the other day, and I thought that had gone. But
No,
I haven't been to a commercial gym for a while.
Well,
and I walked in and I was like,
it's still there. Trust me.
you're like climbing Everest with help.
it's like an escalator on Everest.
Yeah, it's weird.
It really is, honestly.
But he's like straight arms as well.
Yeah.
And his body was at a right angle, so he wasn't actually like, there was no leaning into it.
Yeah.
It was like
leaning back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like,
so if you see anybody doing this, please go over to them and tell them to stop.
film it and send it in.
Yeah, please.
Send it to us.
Oh no, I've seen enough of it. I don't ever want to see it again.
We just have a load of, like, we'll have an Instagram of just people walking uphill with holding on. Have to superimpose them.
And the other thing, again, if you see this, please go over to them and tell them to stop. Is training for an hour on your arms. The young lads are terrible for this. I went to Egypt diving recently for a week, right? And there was a hotel gym there, and I managed to get in there quite a bit. And without fail, every time I went in there, there was somebody in there doing bicep curls.
Haters gonna hate, mate.
Bicep curls, the muscle is the size of an apple. It's tiny. It doesn't need an hour of training. And now the triceps. So, you're much better off doing some kind of compound move that's going to get everything working. A couple of compounds.
Oh, especially if, like, mature listeners. Like, if you're not a bodybuilder or you don't know any specific style of training, then full body or like your compounds first, and then some isolation, and then maybe use a machine for fun, and then go back to another compound, and then do a little bit of isolation again. That's going to be perfect, rather than just, like, I guess, because I went to the gym the other day, there's tons of machines, and people just sitting on each machine.
Yeah.
And I get
On their
it,
phone.
like, you don't really want to do much, and you kind of, at least you're there, I guess. I don't want to, like, you're not going to be in there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's actually, you're not building any strength in your body, like, in general. You're just doing isolated work.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
I always do legs.
And in case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about with compounds, what we're talking about here is multi-joint exercises that work a lot of muscle for relatively little effort. Well, not little effort, but little time. So you could, in other words, take an example as a squat or a deadlift, or a overhead press, or a dumbbell press. Then you're working lots of different angles, lots of different joints, which means you're working a lot of muscle. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. That's what we're talking about there.
Squats, deadlifts, bench.
Yeah, all the big stuff.
Anything free weights, basically.
Yeah, anything that involves bars, dumbbells, kettlebells, pretty much. Yeah. So,
and also, I'll go on to that real quick as well. Like, what's it? I saw the study a while ago. If you do 3 or 2 exercises per body part 3 times a week, you get more muscle growth than doing like 10 sets on one day.
Oh, okay.
I have to try and find that out. But yeah, there's like basically if you split your workouts up full body 3 times a week, say with I think it was
so rather than splits,
a total of 6 sets per exercise. So say you did 6 sets chest, 6 sets on legs, 6 sets on back.
Yeah.
But you did it 3 times a week.
Yeah.
You build more muscle than just doing like one session on chest a week, one session
right,
on back
got
a
you.
week.
Yeah, I'd
It's
agree with that. Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say I've got clients who, if they're short of time, I would always give them a total body workout to do twice a week. If they've only got 2 sessions a week, they can do. Yeah. So that's a good little tip. Anyway, there'll be a lot of people who've got Christmas presents in the gym, like tech. So we want to talk about that for a little bit. So you might have a new watch, data watch that's giving you data about your workout.
I've seen a few rings recently as well.
Yeah, the Aura rings.
Yeah, they're pricey though.
They are. They're a nice bit of kit.
400 quid?
But so the one question I've got is it data just for data's sake? Are you actually using it for anything?
If you're like me, you buy the Whoop, realise it's telling you you're not fucking sleeping, so you take it off.
Yeah. If you don't like the data,
you're not recovered. Fine.
If you don't like the data, ignore it. Well, you've got to look at the data, use it, and if it's applicable, try and change it. So if it's telling you you're not sleeping, you need to try and do something about sleep. We'll come back to sleep in a bit. But the one thing I do think is useful. I've mentioned this again a few times because it's quite important, and it is becoming a bit more widespread. Is the heart rate variability (HRV) stuff? Because we're going to come back to recovery in a bit, but the recovery side of it is really important, especially as you get a bit older. You're not getting, the workouts are going to take a bit more out of you. So if you can get heart rate variability score, which is telling you basically how recovered you are, how fatigued you are, you might be getting a bit of a cold. You'll be able to see that. You can see if you're not feeling a bit under the weather, you're overtrained, all these type of things.
Drunk alcohol?
Yeah, if you've had a skinful. That really affects it, doesn't it? That really affects it.
I remember when I had the Whoop and I had it, went out and then literally, then I think a couple of weeks later I had a proper man flu.
Yeah.
And the heart rate did exactly the same. The variability did the same. So it looked like when you drink, it almost looks like you have a cold.
Right. And you feel about the same as well.
And I was like, shit. Like you can almost whether you take it as a feeling, you feel like shit. But actually, the data there was telling me that my sleep was shit. My heart rate variability was shit, and I was not recovering, and I was like, oh god, it matches.
Yeah, that's mad. That's mad. That's a clear indicator of how much a good few beers affects you. But so by all means use these things, and they're great for tools. But the main focus should really be getting yourself a good plan, as we've discussed, and doing some effective exercise and something achievable that you're not going to pack up after a month or give up on.
Yeah.
So by all means, get the rings, get the watches, but use them as a tool. Don't base your whole life around them. You know what I mean?
I read one CrossFit coach used to ban his athletes from wearing them.
Yeah.
Because it basically said because they trained so hard pre-competition that they were giving them they were like, oh, you're not rested enough.
Right. Okay.
But I would assume somebody that's untrained would probably have a similar thing going, oh, you're not rested enough. But actually, I think you need to go through that bit of horrible feeling and DOMS and everything before it's almost right. You know what I mean? Oh, you're not rested enough. You need to take 5 days rest or something. You don't really. You just need to go for a walk and another workout and keep pushing on a little bit, and then you'll kind of have a baseline which is better.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have to come out of the doing nothing to something.
Yeah.
And then you get better data. But he used to ban it 6 weeks before a competition.
Really?
He'd just be like, you're unrested, you're unrested, you're unrested.
Right,
They were like
right.
training so hard for it.
Yeah.
That he was like, people just like, they would like go by their watch basically as gospel.
Right,
And
got
he
you.
was,
Rather
like,
than how
not-
they felt and
yeah, and
yeah.
how he was coaching them and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, if you've got one, let us know if you like it.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the Whoop, but my trouble is I like to tell the time.
Yeah.
And I don't like wearing two things at once.
No, yeah.
And Garmin's pretty good though, to be fair. So what you got?
Well, I've got the old Ultra, and I've got to say I do love this.
What is it, Garmin? Or...
No, this is the iWatch.
Here he is, fucking iWatch.
Well, I got it reconditioned on eBay for £400, about half
decent.
price.
Sweet.
And you wouldn't know it's ever been used. So, and it's been great. I have to say, I use it as a dive computer as well.
Is it good?
It is bang on, really good. Really
10
good.
out of 10.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I would give it 10 out of 10. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've never really used a lot. I've never used a Whoop, so I don't know what that's all about. But I do know it's a bit of a. You rent it, don't you? It's really weird. Has it got a really weird business model?
They used you basically it's like contract, isn't it? So you kind of have it. I think once you've paid for the band,
then it's yours.
You still have a monthly subscription to the data.
Okay.
So they kind of like get you that way.
Right, got you.
But it kept on telling me what I didn't want to hear.
So you took it off.
So,
Right, we've got a little question next from a listener who sent us a really good question, and it's quite a relevant one as well. So I'm going to read. It's quite long, so I'm going to read it out, and then we can have a chat about it.
yeah, sweet.
So he asked, because there are now more mature people training harder than ever before, are we entering uncharted territory in terms of our awareness of training recovery for middle-aged athletes? Sure, there have been a large number of older athletes for a long time, but I suspect there have never been before so many people, middle-aged, normal, inverted commas, folk who are continue to train hard alongside their daily lives. Is the coaching nutrition industry up to speed on this? Is it even being recognised, let alone being catered for? So I think it's a really interesting question because we've got an ageing population. So there's going to be more and more people, 40s and 50s, going through still training.
Oh yeah, well the access is great now. Like,
yeah, I mean it's incredible that you're getting. There's so many more. There's so much more availability now for older people to train. In terms of classes and things catered especially for them. And I think that's brilliant. But the other thing I was going to talk about really is that this kind of builds into it as well. But sarcopenia, which is basically muscle loss as you get older. I don't know what the percentage is, but you lose a certain percentage of your muscle per 5 years or something as you get past.
A lot.
It's quite a lot, and it's quite scary. And you only have to look at an elderly person who you know well, and you see year by year they'll look a little bit more frail. And they'll look a little bit less of them, to be honest. They could have been quite a big person earlier in their life, and they start to drop off, and it's just losing muscle. So that just shows you really, because there's a direct link to sarcopenia, muscle loss, and things like breaking hips, getting ill, and actually dying early. There's a direct link to it. So it's something we really want to avoid. And for that reason, I think we need to be focusing. There's a lot of focus on getting people just moving, when they get older, and that's great. But we should be steering them towards doing some weight training, overload. A little bit more. Sitting up in a squat out of a chair is great, but it's not overloading. And to stop the muscle loss, you need a bit of overload, don't you? So
well, essentially, because we don't do any manual labour anymore,
yeah,
then you need some weighted resistance.
Yes.
So essentially, either hill walking, stair walking is the one for the legs, I guess. But you need. I also think for older generations or older people or whatever you want to call it, overhead pressing.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people really you see as people get older, they really struggle with overhead exercises.
Yeah, because the shoulders just get the first things to go, aren't they? It's just the mobility as well.
Yeah.
Mobility. Yeah.
But it's funny you said that because I was actually looking at this the other day.
Oh yeah.
And good old ChatGPT. So from 30 to 40, your strength loss goes down 5%. 40 to 50, 8 to 10%. 50 to 60, 15 to 20%. 60 to 70, 20 to 30%. So from the age of 30, your strength, from 30 to 70, your strength's going to decrease 50 to 60%.
Wow.
And muscle mass goes down 40%. So muscle mass loss per year between 30 and 40, I'm guessing this
Assume
data,
they don't train.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing it's assuming they don't train
Yeah.
or take any supplements or whatever. It's normal people. Yeah, muscle loss per year between 30 and 40 is 3 to 5%.
Wow.
That's just, yeah, and then 40 to 50 is 3 to 8%, 50 to 60, 8 to 10%, and 60 to 70 is 10 to 15%.
Wow.
So you think from 30
So
to...
it's escalating as well, isn't it? It's
yeah,
getting
yeah, so
faster.
it's getting faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so total muscle loss between 30 and 60 is 23%.
Yeah.
That's like a fourth of your muscle lost in 30 years.
Yeah, wow. What's going to be interesting is if the people going through now, getting in their 60s, 70s, are of exercise when they were younger, what would be really interesting to see is if they continue it, or if they think, oh, I'm too old for that now, you know. I'm hoping they will.
I think the people that train anyway will just carry on. Because
I think so, but I hope they do.
I think that's a good thing about weights is, like, it's no impact,
Yeah,
but you're still lifting and you can easily get a heart rate up.
yeah,
So
especially
you can,
supersetting and stuff.
yeah, you can still like train. Like, you could pick a lighter weight, you could do more reps, you could do it for time, you could do it in a circuit. So there's so many ways you could train to accommodate your level. That's your level of fitness essentially, or your level of strength.
Yeah.
With the free weights.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
there's no reason why you wouldn't essentially stop training.
No. I mean, the thing to not be is put off by exercise as you get older, thinking it's not for you, because it's absolutely no reason why you should. I mean, I love it when I see, somebody 80, 90 in the gym. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
It honestly, it makes me like smile, because I just think, good on you.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people who just wouldn't go near it.
No.
You know.
And you're gonna get weaker anyway, so why not try and keep your strength for as long as you can?
Absolutely.
I think that's probably half the reason people, like, you lose your balance and stuff as you get older, and you lose mobility and you lose strength, because actually, like, a lot of anyone, well, even say from 25 to say 40, even in that age bracket, like, to get them to do a walking lunge is quite difficult. To get them to do like a bench press just with a bar is quite difficult, because they have no coordination, no stability, and like once you've stopped doing any sort of style of activity, and then I guess now with social media and the sofa being comfy, it's easier to sit down and not do it than do it.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing that's worth mentioning is, you need to also to have a level of expectation. You're not going to build muscle like you would in your 30s, 20s, 30s, even 40s. It's going to be a case of preventing the decline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than it is to progress. So you got to leave the ego at the door a little bit and think, right, your days of lifting 100 kilo, squat are probably in the past.
Let's see how strong we can get you. But I always say to people, like, our main aim is to reduce your body fat and keep your muscle.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're, say, 50 and above, or you've trained for a long time, then your main aim is to just drop body fat and keep your muscle and just get your cardiovascular fitness up.
Absolutely, yeah. So just because if you go on this quest to keep progressing, and I don't want to sound like I'm just saying, don't give up on your progress. I'm not saying that, but just be realistic that you're probably going to have to.
If you're in a strength sport.
Yeah.
If you're in an endurance sport, then that stays longer. You don't lose endurance until you're 65.
No, that's right. That's cool. Yeah.
So you can do endurance.
Well, I'm talking more about injury prevention as well. So, if you keep pushing yourself and keep doing these heavy lifts, that's great. But just bear in mind that you've got much more chance of getting injured, because your connective tissue isn't what it was. The supporting, cartilage, tendons get more brittle. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm writing people off, because far from it. I'm the one advocating that you should continue, but also just be aware. Because a great example I had this week, actually, there was a lady who came to our gym, and she's been in the group sessions. She's been trying to put a bar on her back. She didn't have the mobility in her shoulders or the strength to get it into position. So what we had to do is scale it for her, which is absolutely fine. We'll talk about that in a sec. And we just gave her a kettlebell to do a goblet squat, and she was okay, but she fell out of it because everyone else was squatting with a bar on their back, and she was kind of doing these goblet squats, and she never said anything, but you could tell that she felt a little bit out of the loop. And the other day, I just said to her, why don't you just try, because you've been coming for a while now. You must have built up some strength, and she got straight under the bar. The bar went down onto her traps up here, and she was absolutely made up. delighted to the point she sent me a message saying, even my physio said you're probably never going to squat because you'll never get in the right position. There you go. So so she's probably in a
That's
late...
the physio writing it off.
Yeah, the physio's written off. So she's probably in her late 60s, or maybe early 60s. It's hard to tell sometimes. You don't want to offend anyone. But either way, she's had restricted movement, and now she's a whole posture has changed. She's really upright, because she's been working all her postural muscles. Yeah. She's upright. Her shoulders are back, and she's walking much straighter. And now she can get under a bar where she couldn't even dream about doing that like a year ago, or even 6 months. So that's a great example of someone who can make a big change later on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Later on. So it's if you're writing yourself off at 45, 50, you really shouldn't, because you can still make great progress.
I think I mentioned it in your last podcast. A guy called Steve. I don't know if I started training him like 59 or 60, but he was just squatting with a plate, and now I think his best squat's like 145, and he came second in Commonwealth powerlifting last year.
Yeah.
And he started essentially lifting at 59 or 60.
Amazing.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, he's been active when he was younger, and he played rugby until he was like 40, but the last 10 years had been nothing.
Yeah.
So he had been active before, but actually he literally just started squatting with a plate. That was it, because he couldn't even go do that. He couldn't actually, the bar was too heavy.
Yeah.
So it's just, and then just time, he would train 3-4 times a week.
Yeah. Even though we're in the game and we see people like this all the time, sometimes it takes a little story like that just to remind you, just her putting the bar on her back was a massive achievement for her. And it made her day. It made her year, actually.
Yeah.
So, just think about small improvements, small gains, little victories. If you're seeing yourself improve like that, it just motivates you to carry on. Why would you stop when you've seen something like that? It'd make you want to carry on and go, what else can I do in a year? You know what I mean? And that's brilliant. I love that.
I think that's it. It's just not for me, it's just, I'd never say anyone just can't do it.
No.
But let's see.
Let's see what you can do, yeah.
Because, we don't, essentially, people always want to go, oh, how much can I lose? How much muscle? Blah, blah, blah. But actually, it's really individual.
Yeah.
And some people really struggle to get stronger, and some people just get stronger.
Yeah.
And, whether you're just starting out or you want to change what you're doing, just try it and see what happens.
Yeah, see what happens, yeah. Get good coaching, like you said earlier. Get some good coaching. Don't try it on your own. You don't know what you're doing. You get hurt. Especially if you're getting on a bit. So, just be sensible. Get some advice.
That's why I'm waiting until February, isn't it? They always come in hurt.
Yeah.
Can you help me?
Can you fix me now?
Yeah.
So the other thing I want to talk about is, going back to the question, actually, is in a CrossFit style environment where you're with multiple people all doing the same kind of workout. There might be a workout posted on the board, like a CrossFit style, and you're following it. I think it'll not happen naturally anyway. It'll have to. But as more and more people are older in the classes, then there'll have to be more, regression, progression, and scaling. So that you can't do that, but you can do this. So that doesn't mean that they can't participate. It just means that the coach, and hopefully we're going to get that now. The quality of coaching is pretty good generally, I would say. I mean, they still get exceptions, but that they can cope with that and cope with spinning a few plates in a class and go, right, you're doing goblet squats, you can't do back squats because they're not suitable for you, your posture's wrong, or we need to work on your mobility first, blah, blah, blah. So you might have 3 or 4 people doing different exercises, different regressive moves or progressive moves from where the ideal would be. And so if that happens, and it should, then there's no reason why I think the training should suffer as you get older. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. But that's the thing, isn't it? As much as we have these set exercises that people think that are, I don't know, whether they call it the best or the ideal, you're still working your legs goblet squatting or
box squatting,
or whatever it is, or lunging or step ups, or you're still working all the muscles because you're doing that movement pattern. Yeah. And however you weight it is we have a safety bar, so if you can't actually do that, then you just use a safety bar for a bit. And work on the other parts that open up your mobility. There's so much stuff you can. That's the thing. There is so much stuff you can do.
Yeah, there is.
There's no reason why, even if you have bad mobility or you can't walk that well, or there's still ways you can get around it.
Yeah.
But I guess if you are like that, if you like, say if you can't walk very well, or you're that injured, then you need to go 1-to-1. I wouldn't go into group.
No, I agree.
I'll
Yeah.
go 1-to-1 first for a couple of months and see how
Yeah.
you progress, and then go into a group.
Yeah, just to make sure your technique is up to scratch. Because if you come into a class that's got, say, 15 people, 20, 12 people, 15 people, the coach is going to struggle to pick you out and really dedicate any length of time just on you to get to fixed technique. And that is the only downside of these kind of classes, is where the coach maybe not either is aware of it but can't deal with it, or it's just maybe not the best coach and can't see it. So so it would be great. Again, like, it sounds like we're trying to build our own business out, and we are, I suppose, it's really. But it's also good advice. Just get some sessions in first to get your technique bang on before you then go into an environment where there's going to be a bit more pressure on you acting alone.
I just still don't know where people think they get the audacity from to walk into a gym and like their brain just goes, I know what to do. I've never understood it myself.
No.
Because I never did that. I was quite lucky I had like a PT through rugby and stuff, but like I never went like, oh, I can just do that. And don't get me wrong, there's so much information out there, like on YouTube and stuff, but I always think like kids are great at kind of picking up stuff, but even they get it wrong. Like the other day you see them benching, it's a little bit awkward and they're like really hurting themselves in their shoulder, or they're going too heavy, or they can just tweak something and make it a lot better. But
YouTube's great, but it doesn't correct you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the point.
You don't know.
That's the problem. And you perpetuate bad technique because you don't know any better. And that doesn't mean to sound patronising. If the
amount of time I get people coming in with bad shoulders from benching.
From benching high.
Yeah, or like bench like this.
Yeah. That's all they do.
Yeah.
And so they get internally rotated.
Yeah.
So just get good advice, but there's no reason why you shouldn't carry on. And we're talking about training really there. As you get older, you can still do it, but just bear in mind you're going to have to scale it. You might have to scale it back to something or change the exercise slightly. And again, good coaching should look after that for you. But if we go to recovery and rest now, as you get older, training hard, there's no reason why you shouldn't continue to do that. But one thing I think is a good rule of thumb as you get a bit older, and I apply this to myself now, is I only go all out 100% once a week. So let's say I'm training 4 or 5 times a week. Generally, that's what I would do. I might do something on the weekend as well, but that would be like cycling or a bit of running, but that'd be fairly straightforward. But if I'm talking about weight training and like a WOD style thing where I'm doing, high intensity workout, then I would only really go all out on one session a week, and the others would be about 85%. So that I'm holding back a little bit, and that's not because I don't want to. I don't want to push myself. It's because if you push yourself 3 or 4 times a week, you're going to get hurt. As you get a bit older, for all the reasons we've already gone over, there's a good chance you can pull something or get injured, and then it pushes you backwards, and we really want to avoid that, don't we? Is that awful time when you get injured and it lasts week after week after week, and you don't feel like you can train properly?
I think that's it with like anyone, athletes, normal people, is self-regulation. So like understanding, am I going to push today, or am I going to go and work at 80%? Or like any program you look at, if it's a sprint program, a powerlifting program, a bodybuilding program, or anything like that, you're still going to have like a deload, or you're going to have like an easier week, or you're going to have high sets with low sets, or you're going to have back off sets, or you're going to have like something that keeps the volume high enough to get the stimulus, and low enough that you're not going to fuck yourself.
Yeah.
But also that comes with knowledge and time, and like asking questions, a good coach or whatever. But like no matter what, you can't sprint every day of the week.
No, nor should you.
So it's like like don't get me wrong, you could build up to sprint 3 times a week, but you wouldn't want to sprint 5-7 days a week.
No. And like you wouldn't want to squat 5 times a week. So it's just
unless you're small.
yeah.
But even those, even the squat program, there's 4 to 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Like it's only like I think it's 2 heavy days or 1 heavy day, and the other 2 are like they're still high enough to get the stimulus, but they're not high enough to kill you.
Yeah. And it'd be periodization as well.
Yeah.
So you'd have days when you'd have weeks when it's heavy, and then weeks when you step back.
And the stronger you get, the more recovery you need.
Yeah, and so a good, again going back to the question, a good coach, if you're training in a good facility, will be doing that. They won't be just smashing you at 85 to 90% of your squat every week. If they are, you need to leave. Because you need periodization, you need to step back, you need a deload week, and you need a rest week, and you know where you take the intensity down a little bit, and you go higher on your volume, and you reduce the weight. So all this sounds obvious, but you'd be amazed how many people you get, especially young coaches, because they really sometimes don't think about the older people in the class. They'll be thinking, well, this guy's 22, he's doing it. Why can't you? I mean, and if you're 22 yourself, when you're telling that person, you might not get it, and that's fair enough. But that's down to education as well, isn't it? As a coach, you need, you know.
And what's it like? With training, you've also got to take into like your work and life balance as well. Like if you are working like a hard week and you haven't got time to do 5 sessions, just do one good one. Yeah. Or like if you're struggling to recover, you know you need to bring it back. Or I know, say you've got family commitments and things like that. So your work stress levels have to take when you're just training for either an elite athlete or you're training for things, you have to take into account everything rather than just a training session. Because I get like, we always want to hit our targets and blah, 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 or percentages. But sometimes, say if you work night shifts, that's going to be even tougher. Or, you know, you had a really like hard week, you've done like 60, 70 hours or whatever. Like you're going to be super stressed, super tired. You're probably not eating as much. So you're not going to be expected to be able to perform at that level. Or like, but I guess that comes like self-regulation again, is you're going to look at your diary or your week and go, actually, like this week's going to be really bloody hard to get in 2 like heavy sessions. Why don't I get in like 3 light ones, or why don't I just do 2 light ones and then we can go back heavy next week? Or,
exactly.
Or I'm just going to have a little light week this week because of work, and then next week we're going to go back into the heavier stuff.
Like, perfect.
Rather than missing
rather than miss a week, because you don't. That's where your consistency starts to suffer.
Yeah. Or you don't hit the numbers and you get pissed off with yourself, and actually you go, I should hit those, but actually you haven't looked at sleep, you haven't looked at work, you haven't looked at stress, you haven't looked at like everything else you've done, how you've eaten and blah, blah, blah. So actually you can always tell when someone is stressed, hasn't eaten, worked too hard, they always come in weaker, they come in like less motivated, they come in like, it's just, so sometimes you have to like give yourself a little bit of like, you know what, I'm still going to train, I might just not push as much. But that, I guess that always ties in with, you know, when the questions around like middle-aged athletes, you know, you probably you're working harder, you're maybe pushing promotions, or you have a high stressful job. So but people, I always think, especially like younger people or coaches or whatever, they just don't think about that because it's not part of. They haven't hit 50 hours.
It's not on their radar yet.
They haven't hit 60-hour weeks, or they haven't. I don't know. You know, they haven't got any other commitments outside of training and eating.
No, that's it. That's very true. Yeah.
But I always think like programs 1, then your recovery time. How do you recover better? Like, do you need to go to sleep earlier? Do you need to cold bath? Do you need to eat more protein? Like, well, another thing as well. When you get older, you need to eat more protein. Essentially, your protein turnover is higher.
That's the next point actually, is the nutrition side of it. Nice segue, mate. Nice segue.
Smart.
So you hit the nail on the head there. Your protein intake should probably be higher as you get a bit older, because that's going to ward off that kind of muscle loss as well. And, you know, if you're training hard, you need it, and you need it even more when you're getting older. When we all get older, the obvious stuff we discussed earlier about like the vitamin D. Vitamin B12 is one that apparently can drop off a little bit, and we discussed creatine as well. That for anyone, creatine is really a absolute no-brainer. It's got so many. I mean, feel free to read around it yourself, but it's got so many benefits outside of training, not just lifting, helping you get stronger. It's for the brain. It's a real protective for the brain against dementia. There's a lot of it's more and more, as the research goes on, and more stuff's coming out, isn't it?
Yeah. And, well, fish oils, creatine, vitamin D, and magnesium are pretty much your stable.
And maybe calcium as well. If you're, I don't know, you have to look at that individually. And all of this can be done with blood tests as well. You don't have to just stick a finger in the air, find out exactly what's going on.
But if you're middle-aged training, I would stick a finger in the air and go, you need magnesium, you need fish oil, you need vitamin D.
Oh yeah, those are a given.
I would literally just do that, and you need it. Essentially.
Yeah, everyone needs it. So the basics, you can't, they're not going to.
Can I plug my blog?
Yeah, of course you can.
If you want to look at supplements, you can look at my blog, which is www.morelifefitness.co.uk.
More Life Fitness.
Yeah, .co.uk.
Nice.
I just essentially, I was getting annoyed with people either taking shit supplements or asking me which supplements are the best. So I've just started putting it all on a blog page with research references. So it's all got research references. It's all got benefits. It's all got like everything there. So you can either go and find the research yourself, or you can literally just read it as it is.
I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of just got fed up. Like people just eat taking shit supplements from fucking the supermarket, asking me what supplements are the best.
Yeah.
What can I take for this and that? And over time, like that's why I always say, like literally your fish oils, your magnesium, and your vitamin D. Like if I had to say any three, it'd be those three because those are the three that come up most on all the posts.
Yeah.
Like for everything. Like it's weird how much those are like.
It's just
keep
they work.
Going out.
They just work, don't they? I mean,
and I'd write did one for like mental health. And I'm trying to cover lots of areas, and they just keep coming out. And I'm like, oh god, this again.
This again,
again.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, if it's coming through from multiple, journals and research, then there's something there, isn't there?
But as you get older, supplements is going to be
supplements are more important, if anything, as you get older. So
with nutrition and stuff like. Nutrition and vegetables has gone down like stupidly over 40 years. So you're never I don't think you'll ever eat as much as you need to, especially if you're training 3 to 5 days a week.
Yeah. And then we're going to touch on, finally, sleep. Now, I've already done it's a fairly long podcast. Season 3, episode 3 of the Mature Muscle podcast is with Dr. Sophie Bostock, who is known as the sleep doctor, and she was brilliant. She went into everything. So rather than just go through all of that again, find that it's available on all the normal channels, podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of them. And find that and give that a listen, because that was a pretty good one, and it goes into a lot of detail. But things like napping, I know it sounds like when you get older you're napping more, but it's actually a good thing. Napping is excellent. So if you can do a 25-minute nap at some point, that's really gonna help just that recovery. Because you especially if you're sleeping well at night, that's okay. But if you're not sleeping well at night, a little nap will really help. But remember, your growth hormone is released at night when you're recovering. So that's when you're going to heal. So if you're not sleeping very well and you're not getting that hormone release, then you're going to suffer. So if the way I've already mentioned this, I think I said it to you last time, is I always think of it like like the fire triangle. You got heat. You've got 3 sides to it. The nutrition and training and rest is the same. You know what I mean? So there's heat, fire, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You
basically, sleep is key.
Sleep, nutrition, and stimulus, exercise. If one of those 3 is missing, then you will basically suffer.
It's when I can't remember who said it. I'm sure I probably stole it from somewhere, but it was one of those. If we didn't need sleep, it would be banned in sport. Is that good? Yeah. Like if we didn't need it, it'd be banned.
Yeah.
Essentially. Also, another thing, if you listen to TED Talks, there's a TED Talk on sleep, and like it will scare you to go to sleep. Like you'll just be watching it, going, "I need to go to sleep."
Yeah.
If you don't get deep enough, basically it's when you collate all your memories and your thoughts for the day and everything you've learned, and it was tracking the sleep. I think if you don't get over 6 hours, they had this electro thing on their head, and one of the big nerves started setting off, and they think that's where you're like calibrating, resetting all your brain and filing your system.
That's it. Yeah.
And they were saying if you get under 6 hours, you're basically not getting that. Under 6 hours, you're like reduced testosterone. obviously it's a carcinogenic in health insurance if you work shift patterns.
Yeah,
But yeah, under 4 hours, like people just couldn't remember stuff, and then they did a sleep deprivation test where they tested them one day to try and remember something, and literally your memory drops like 90%, something stupid.
Sounds about
after
right.
a couple of days.
Yeah. But
Especially
the other thing is, again, going back to prevention of dementia, and your brain gets like almost like a deep clean at night. There's the myelin sheath, you know, and so there's a the neurons in your brain they can get gummed up with this plaque that basically they think pretty much causes dementia, or certainly contributes to it. And at night when you sleep, you get I don't know exactly how the mechanics of it work, but it gets cleaned off or back, so there's less of it. So you get
you're essentially like sleep is your recovery, really.
Yeah, in more ways than one, in mentally and physically. So yeah, it is really important, no doubt about that. So yeah, that's that kind of 3-pattern thing. Make sure your training's right. Make sure your nutrition's right. So supplementation if you need it. Make sure you're getting enough recovery. If you get all those right, you're gonna do okay.
Yeah, and then I guess going back to that question with is the coaching and nutrition keeping up? I think probably the answer is no, because a lot of the studies are usually done on athletes or untrained individuals.
Yeah.
So a lot of the studies will not be done for that middle-aged like athlete or someone, whatever you class an athlete as.
Yeah.
But also, it's not like a one-size-fits-all with a lot of things.
No.
But it's essentially they all apply the same way. So this is where again the self-regulation comes in. If you're not sleeping enough, you'll know about it. If you're not eating well enough, you know about it. So essentially, I guess they're not touching on it because it's probably not that needed to touch on. But it comes down to the person themselves, unless you find a good coach. If you're being coached, so then it's your self-regulation to understand. Essentially, everyone knows. Most people will see online that your minimum protein intake is 1.2, but if you're training hard, it needs to be, for CrossFit, it'll probably be like 1.5 to 1.7 grams per kilo.
Yeah.
And then obviously you're going to have your carbs and stuff on top of that, unless you're doing keto, which is probably a bad idea if you want to be an athlete. That's another one.
But guaranteed, most people are way too low on their protein, aren't they?
When people come in here,
especially women, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're get them to do a food diet for the first week. I reckon on average, most people are under 100 grams.
Yeah.
Under 100 grams. Yeah. You're just not getting enough protein. So yeah, basically, essentially, as you get older, eat more protein, make sure you're resting. But I don't think the industry is probably up to speed with it because it doesn't need to be looked at that much, essentially. As I think the middle-aged athlete comes down to self-regulation, because the data's out there for untrained and trained, and then you just kind of have to see where you're at. And because middle age could mean anything from say 30 to 50, you've got even broader spectrum, and it's very personalized. Testosterone levels could be totally different. Recovery totally different. How an athlete responds is totally different. And that's one of the things I always find with coaching people is trying to say to them, you need to self-regulate and understand your body. The tech can help you, the coach can help you, but essentially it comes down to you.
Yeah.
And if you're an athlete, that probably means you train a lot. So then it just comes down to understanding yourself a little bit better. But I don't think the industry's keeping up, but I don't think it's one of those ones where...
No, I mean, the heart rate variability can help with that, as we discussed. That can see if you're overtraining.
It's one of those. Middle-aged people, I think if you're going to be an athlete, you start earlier, and most of the studies are done on dying or being healthier or untrained.
Yeah.
So you're middle-aged, bro. You're in this you're no man's land. It's nobody gives a shit. Nobody's going to do anything for you, so you have to do it yourself.
Yeah, you're not one or the other. You're in.
There's no money in a middle-aged athlete. Do you know what I mean? It's well,
maybe there's a gap in the market. Maybe we start targeting people in that region, but.
MMA. MAA. Middle-aged athlete training. MAA training.
Yeah. So if you have got any doubts on this, go and speak to your coach, because if they're a decent coach, they should be aware of your age anyway and be thinking about what they can do to help your workouts. If they can see you struggle, or they can see that you're not able to hit these targets that they set for the class, then they should be scaling it for you anyway. So on the training side of it, it should be fairly straightforward if you've got a decent coach. If you're training on your own, then that's a different story. Then you need to be thinking, like you can't squat what you could 20 years ago. So don't try, because you'll get hurt.
And that comes back to your triangle thing.
Yeah.
I guess, like, if you are struggling in training, then what's this doing, man? Christ, look at that! Woohoo!
Oh, it's testing that you're still alive.
Testing I'm still alive.
Yeah.
If you are struggling in training, then look at sleep and nutrition.
Yeah.
Like, because every time you start, like, for me personally, every time I struggled in training was I hadn't slept enough or I hadn't eaten right that day.
Yeah.
And I always think that's going to be your first port of call, especially if you're, like, I think athlete is someone that's skilled already, so you understand where you are.
Yeah.
Or if you've been training, say, like 2 to 5 years, then I would look at sleep and then look at training. Look at sleep and then nutrition.
Yeah.
Like, if your protein's not high enough, you're going to struggle to recover. If you haven't had, your supplements, probably going to struggle to recover even more. If you haven't slept enough, your testosterone's going to be down, your cortisol's going to be up.
Growth hormone will be down as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that all has I would say that all has a bigger impact on training than the volume that you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Because you can get away with doing relatively little and still get good results, can't you?
Yeah.
I mean, 2 sessions a week, you can get results.
Yeah.
You won't get, as good results as 3 or 4, but you will get good results.
But yeah, so I'd always look. I think for most people, it's always sleep, and that's getting
to sleep
to sleep and staying asleep for a long time.
Yeah.
Ashwagandha and magnesium, great for that.
Yeah.
Staying asleep. But yeah, definitely. Like, and it's one of those. I think the industry with CrossFit, High Rocks, all those other like competition style things, like everyone's getting smarter. All the information's like at the end of your fingertips.
Yeah.
Like you say, you've got the smart devices where if you do feel like you're struggling, then sometimes you might see something in a smart device that goes, oh, you know what? Oh, actually, I need to do that, or I haven't actually, like, you feel like you're training hard, but actually you haven't tested your heart rate, for instance. Maybe you want to like get better endurance. You actually haven't reached that like threshold to improve endurance, or you're not changing your training protocols enough. So you're not doing, like, say if you want to get stronger, you still need to do some speed work. If you want to get faster, you still have to do speed work. I think that's what a lot of people neglect, especially like, I guess, runners or athletes, is they don't do enough track work, enough jump work, enough plyos,
plyometric.
Like, you have to do the speed work as well as the power work.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's so many things you can look at for that. But I would first off go sleep and nutrition.
Yeah.
And then don't call yourself middle-aged, just call yourself athlete.
Yeah. Just ignore the whole thing.
Yeah, just ignore your age, bro. Just pretend you're 21. Christ, it's all a lie anyway.
Right, I think we're good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us for that. Hope it was helpful. That was a good question off that listener. So if you've got any questions, please keep them coming. Give us a score, give us a rating, and give us a follow or a subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe and follow, bitches.
Yeah.
I'll cut that bit out.
Yeah.
Subscribe and follow, please.
Yeah. No, I like bitches.
I always forget I want to, like, this has got to go out somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I've always got to tick explicit. When I post it, it's like, is there any explicit language in this? I go, yes. So I think that's just given now.
I did try and calm down a little bit.
No, you did. That's good. So
just for you.
Yeah, I've obviously mentioned this, but it's really great to have someone to bounce ideas off and chat, because the last few seasons have just been me on my lonesome just doing interviews, which is great, and I love doing interviews, and we'll still be doing interviews, but we can tag team now. And we're going to try and do one of these once a month. So
we can tag team.
Tag team. Yeah, tag team the lucky person. But yeah, thanks, mate.
Sweet.
Cool. And thank you for listening, and catch you next time.